In this video, I'm going to show you 3 savoury swaps for teenagers whose go-to are crisps, quavers, tortillas, cheesy biscuits, that kind of thing. I'm going to do 3 things here, one of which will be curly kale, crisp curly kale, one will be crispy chickpeas, and the other is going to be literally a 5-minute snack, which is fresh edamame. Hi, I'm Davis-Munro, single mum of 3 teenagers, and I have over 20 years experience in the field of well-being, physical education, food and nutrition. So I'm going to start today by looking at crispy chickpeas. So chickpeas and pulses and beans are wonderful for us because they're a fantastic source of protein. And really, if we can, we should be having some of these at every single meal of the day and snacks in between. We literally can't have too much of this. And the good thing about this healthy stuff is that the more of it you can have. So if you're having something fully loaded with sugar and bad carbs and things that you know are bad for you, you can't have much. The stuff that I'm going to show you, your teenagers can eat as much of as they would like because it's not going to be bad for them. And they're going to feel full, which means they're going to have a better mood and it's going to reflect in all areas of their life. So the first thing I've done is pour 2 tins of organic chickpeas into my sieve, and I'm just making sure that I get off all that excess water, which you can use for other recipes if you choose to. It's called aquafaba and it can be used if you're a vegan in a number of different things. I then line my baking tray with a couple of pieces of kitchen roll. And the reason I put the kitchen roll there is to just take off that excess water. The more water you take off now, the quicker they're going to cook and they're going to get crispy. And in actual fact, while I'm doing that, I'm going to whack my oven on to 200 degrees C. Oh, lost a chickpea there, which I'm sure the dog's going to find. I'm literally just rubbing the chickpeas with my kitchen roll until my kitchen roll pretty much sodden. So although I shook the water off, the excess, my kitchen roll there is pretty much sodden. And I'm going to take just another piece because I really do want to make sure that I've taken as much of the moisture out as possible. So because basically all we're doing when we put them in the oven is drying them out. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that I dry as much off as I can now with the kitchen roll before I throw them in the oven. A bit like when the dog comes out the bath, rubbing them off with a towel before you use the hairdryer. So once I've done that, I'm going to give them a little sprinkle of olive oil. Not too much. These are good oils, better than others, but we're still going to use them minimally. I'm going to use a dash of rapeseed. And I'm going to use a dash of avocado, literally just a dash. And then I'm going to give that a shake around. Once I've done that, I'm going to grab my sea salt and give a little sprinkle. I'm going to grab my pepper. Give a healthy dose of black pepper. And then I'm going to grab my chili flakes, and depending how hot you like your food, we add extra to ours usually when we've finished. And I am looking for garlic granules, so I'm going to stick a few garlic granules on there. So already they look fantastic, but actually the thing that makes them super delicious is this vitamin fortified nutritional yeast, and this is different from the brewer's yeast and the other types of yeast that I was saying will be thrown into all savoury foods. It's vegan, it tastes really, really cheesy, and more importantly, it has B12 in it, which is very, very important. So I'm going to sprinkle that quite liberally, and then again, I'm going to give it a shake. That's ready to go in the oven. So I'm going to put that in the oven, top to middle, and this really depends how crispy you like them. I like mine to be quite crispy, so I'm probably going to leave them in there for up to say 40 minutes. But let's check them as we go along and we'll see what they look like, and you can see how they start to go crispier and they change colour, obviously. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, and I've just made a batch in here, so that's why it's not clean. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to make crispy kale. And again, this is totally delicious, but if you get it wrong, it will just be a soggy mess. And if you give it to your children as a soggy mess, then they are not going to want that. So this is washed, and the first thing I'm going to do is take away the really thick stalk, because that is just not pleasant. So I'm going to take away the thick stalk, and then I'm going to break it up into little bits. So if you can do this, this is an easy way to have that crisp snack without paying a fortune and having far more of it. So this is quite easy for me, but you can see I'm going in and I'm picking out all the hard bits, because I don't want those, and your teenagers will not want those. If you present them with crispy kale with all the hard bits, they'll say, yuck, Mum, I don't want that. Don't give me that. So make sure you do, it's worth just spending a few minutes making sure you've taken out the really hard bits. Now, you might think, God, she's got absolutely tons in there. The reason I've got a lot in here is because you will see it reduces to practically nothing. So you need to fill your tray, first of all, with quite a lot of this stuff. If this works for you, this will be something that you do over and over again. Okay, I'm going to go with what we've got. I'm going to put this bit in my food bin, and then what I'm going to do is, again, a little bit of salt, because don't forget what we're trying to do is give them a substitute for salty foods. So we put a little bit on there, but we're not going to put loads. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper on there. Now I'm going to put my olive oil. Again, you can use some other healthy oils. I've got some walnut oil that I sometimes use on this, and also some sesame, which is really nice. And then I'm going to go in there with my hands. And what I'm trying to do here is make sure, and this is almost like making pastry when you rub the flour into the butter. And if I find a hard bit, a little bit of the core, a little bit of the stalks, then I'm taking them out, because we don't want those. So my hands are covered, and I want to keep going because I don't want bits that are uncovered. And it's going to make them lovely and crispy. So that's going to go there. And then I'm going to take my nutritional yeast again. And you could put your garlic granules on again, or anything that you fancied. You could even put some curry powder on here, or you could put mustard powder. You could use nigella seeds. You could use chili powder. But I'm going to use a generous amount of my nutritional yeast. And then again, I'm just going to take my hands and just ensure that the kale is generously covered with all of that flavour. And then I'm just going to wash my hands so that I can pop that in the oven. So that's about ready to go. My mouth waters just looking at it. This doesn't last 2 minutes in our house, and I'm conscious that my two youngest are coming home soon, and my youngest son, he's 12, and this is every night he asks me if I've got kale. Can he make kale? So he makes it himself. He does it himself. So that's going to go in the oven as well. So I'm going to keep bringing it out every, say, 5 to 7 minutes, and I'm going to keep moving it around, and I'm going to keep checking it. So it will gradually go more crisp and more crisp and more crisp, and it will absorb all those flavors, and it will be totally delicious. If you're familiar with eating at Japanese restaurants or somewhere like Wagamama's, you will be familiar with edamame. So they'll ask you if you want it garlic flavored, if you want it salt flavored, or if you can put different things on it. It's really expensive to have in restaurants like that. And what I do is buy probably 5 to 6 bags of these a week. So that when the children come in, again, they're starving hungry. My daughter dances for 10 hours a week. She's always in, and then she has to get straight out again. She either has leftovers or she has all the things that I've managed to prepare for her. So this is wonderful, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to take my steamer, which is, again, along with my blender, my steamer is probably my second most vital thing in the kitchen, because it means that I can cook vegetables as minimally as possible to retain as many nutrients as possible. Come over to the cooker, and I'm going to bring that to the boil. And straight away, I'm going to stick my edamame on top. I'm going to stick the lid on, and that's going to take less than 5 minutes. In in years gone by, children used to sit there shelling peas, and we hardly ever see peas these days to shell. And it was a really fun thing to do. I remember doing that with my grandmother, and she'd give me a whole bowl, and it was fun. This is a really fun way of eating. Children are holding their food and they're playing with it. And actually, my 2 children have a race because they fight over it. So they're racing to squeeze out as many as they possibly can before their brother has, so that they've had more, and then they might have a bit of an argument about who's had too many. So I'm just going to give my kale a check, and it will have started probably. So you can see already that has minimised. So it's still that wonderful green colour. I'm going to give it a shake. And this is the secret, to keep it moving, keep watching it. So give it a shake, throw that back in. Chickpeas as well. I'm actually going to use a spoon. I'm actually going to use a spoon to do that. So because these are so wet to begin with, you really do need to move them around so that they can dry, and all sides of the chickpeas have access to the hot air in the oven. I'm going to give them a really good spoon around. Take them from the corner, because the corner ones otherwise have a tendency to cook before all the rest, and they might burn. So once you've done that, spread them back out. And put your spoon down, and they can go back in the oven. These are cooking already. I'm just going to give them a mix around. And this is about getting food that you can literally, your teenagers say they're hungry, and within 5 minutes you've got it there. Because by the time you've taken 15, 20 minutes to do something else, they'll have gone to the shop, or they'll have picked up something unhealthy. So it's one, about not having those unhealthy things in the house, but secondly, it's about having the things that they can have to hand double quick. So as soon as they say that they want a snack and they're looking for something healthy, then you can say, here you go, and it's there. So these types of things you can have on salads. You don't necessarily have to have hot. You can defrost them and have them cold, and then pop them out and have them in salads, and put them in their packed lunches or put them in a sandwich, or mix them with our chickpeas in any way you can. So it's about, once they like something, sneak it in every way you can. Pack it, nourish the food. I call it nourishing the food. And one of my particular bugbears is empty carbohydrate white pasta that is actually useless for them. So it's a go-to for most mums, because we're all so busy, and you want to give them pasta at least once, twice a week. Well, if you do, make sure the pasta that you're buying is vegetable pasta, or it's whole food pasta. So you might buy spout pasta or brown pasta or quinoa pasta. And make sure that you then nourish it. And by that I mean add as many vegetables as you possibly can. Nourish it, nourish it, nourish. Spinach reduces to nothing. Put the fresh basil in. Don't buy the shop bought pesto, which again has got lots of additives in it. Nourish it by throwing some peppers in. Nourish it by throwing your onions in, your garlic in. So pack it as much as you possibly can. If they love olives, throw olives in everything you possibly can. So those are done. And give them a shake. Just to get the moisture off. I'm going to throw them in there. I am going to put my garlic on again, because they are garlic nuts. I'm going to put some chilli on, because we love a bit of chilli. That's that. So these are nigella seeds, organic nigella seeds, and these are something that you can add to your sauces, your curries, tomato pastas, all sorts of different things. They smell slightly oniony, and they have different names. I think they're called sativa seeds as well, but they have wonderful healing properties. They're even an anti-spasmodic, so you can sprinkle some of these on if that's your taste as well. I have mustard powder in the cupboard, which I add to my broccoli. If you chop broccoli and leave it for a while, then it maintains all its healing benefits and anti-cancer benefits. If you cook broccoli straight away, then it can lose some of that. So keeping mustard powder is a really good idea, because if you cook it straight away, you put the mustard powder back on the broccoli and then it maintains all its original wonderful properties. So that's why I keep mustard powder, and that's great for on these as well. But literally add anything in the cupboard that you've got in the way of seasoning. You might just want to put some herbs on there. Some mixed herbs. You might want to put some paprika on there or some smoked paprika. It's down to you. But we love a little bit of garlic. We love our chili, and then just a little bit of raw sea salt. So let me check again in our oven and see what's going on with the kale. All right, so the kale really has started to crisp up, and you can see in the corners, I've almost left that too long, but it's going to be okay because I'm going to mix it up with everything else. And you actually do want it to crisp up. I'm just going to give it a little stir, and if you remembered at the beginning, this started out as a huge pile of kale, which is why I said, you really needed to put a lot in there because it would reduce down. And at that point, I'm going to put a little bit more of my nutritional yeast. Okay, so it's about moving it all around so you haven't got some sweet bits, but it's definitely going the right way. And I'm going to turn it down just a little bit, and I'll turn it back up for the chickpeas, but I don't want that to burn. So probably to put these in the oven at 175 degrees, and they'll probably take around 25 minutes, but you must keep checking them and shaking them. Okay, so that's your kale. I'm gonna do and then you should be ready to go. There we go. So the chickpeas, they're also doing really well. You can see they're changing colour and they're deepening in colour, but they're going to need longer. And there's your 3 alternative savoury snacks for your teenagers. So we've got our edamame, and the edamame I keep in the freezer, obviously, bring out and I steam in less than 5 minutes. I throw on a little bit of garlic, I throw on some chili and a little bit of rock salt or sea salt. But again, you can throw on the flavours that you would like most in your household. The chickpeas are cooked with some olive oil, maybe a little bit of rapeseed and a little bit of avocado oil. They are cooked with some nutritional yeast, a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I put some chili on again. If you want to, you can add your mustard seeds, you could add nigella seeds, you could add curry powder, whatever you wanted. And then the curly kale, as you saw, I took out the hard bits, took out all of the stalks. Then I literally massaged some olive oil, extra virgin organic olive oil, into the leaves, covering all of the leaves, and it was a pile when we started out. Then season. I then added chili again. We love our chili, and then I nourished the kale by adding the nutrient-dense nutritional yeast with added B12, which is fantastic for vegetarians and vegans. So it's about having the right stuff in the house, having it ready when your teenagers need it and when they're starving, and being able to ply them with foods that you know every mouthful is full of nourishment and it's replenishing. So have the right things in the house and you will enjoy these too. They're delicious. Nobody couldn't enjoy these. If you like this video, then please give me a thumbs up and I will see you in the next video.